This is the HTC One Mini 2. Effectively, it's the smaller, slightly cheaper version of HTC's flagship One M8. As you can see, it's finished in the same sort of gunmetal aluminium. No surprises around the sides. There's a SIM slot, a microSD slot, so you can expand the 16 gigabytes of internal storage. At the top and bottom, the headphone socket and the charging socket aren't covered up in any way, so there's none of that splash proofing or waterproofing that we've seen in some flagships. Around the back, you'll also see the camera. Now, this is a 13 megapixel camera, which is much higher resolution than the 4 megapixel one found in the M8 and indeed in the last Mini. What that means in practice is that HTC isn't using its ultra pixel technology, which is supposed to give you much lower noise. However, the trade-off is you have bigger pictures and they certainly look quite sharp. The two-tone flash that was found on the HTC One M8, that's no longer here, and neither's the depth sensor, so you can't apply those post-processing depth of field effects. But overall, it's still a pretty decent camera for a phone of this size. When it comes to reviewing your pictures, incidentally, this is a 4.5-inch screen, so it's not really a lot smaller than the 5 inches of the M8. The resolution's been cut though. This is 1280 by 720. It's still pretty sharp, but if you look closely, you can see it's a little bit more pixely than the M8. Inside, there's a Snapdragon 400 processor, which is the same series as found in the previous HTC One Mini. However, it's been boosted from dual-core to quad-core, but at the same time they've actually cut the speed very slightly from 1.4 GHz to 1.2 GHz. The GPU is unchanged. That's an Adreno 305, which is the same GPU that you'll find in a lot of budget smartphones, including the Moto G and the Moto E. The HTC One Mini 2 feels fairly snappy as you're moving around the Android interface. That's Android 4.4 KitKat, but heavily buried underneath HTC's Sense 6 customizations. In terms of gaming though, that 305 GPU isn't the most powerful. It'll be fine for casual gaming, but if you're looking for sort of extreme 3D graphics, maybe this isn't the right phone for you. For a phone in this class, the HTC One Mini 2 has a slightly larger battery than we'd expected. It clocks in at 2100 mAh, which hopefully should give you a bit of extra juice at the end of the day. Also, like all HTC One smartphones, this one's got stereo front-facing speakers, which are nice and loud and clear, so it's great for example, a speakerphone conversation, or perhaps for Skype, on the topic of which we should mention that the front-facing camera is a nice high-res 5 megapixel sensor. It all adds up to a very agreeable little smartphone, and there's just one problem. It's launching at £360 SIM-free. Now that's more than an Nexus 5, and it's getting on for 3 times as much as a Motorola Moto G, even though it's basically the same size, got the same resolution screen, and it's got more or less identical internals. So really, although we do like that, that classic gunmetal finish, the dual speakers, all the strengths of the HTC One name, you're paying a lot for it. Click to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and come back every Wednesday for new hot hardware videos.